Greetings comrades, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. This is the 4th episode of our career, and I must say I'm having a great time doing this, and I hope at least it is of some amusement to you as well. Let's just have a look at our messages. I think, yes, it's just this from the previous mission. The stage was destroyed. I think that was the upper stage of the craft that Valentina was in, so we'll just delete that and have a look at our missions again. I wonder actually if we just jump back out, how much does it cost to upgrade? I think we'll do this, comrades. Jean has been complaining for a while now that they don't really have enough personnel to track various contracts, more than 2, so I think doing an upgrade is quite necessary. If you actually have a look at the background right there, we can see they're still using this old style projector and these fold chairs and some really old computers back there. We can't let our global space agency look like this, not anymore, so we're going to upgrade it. All that it means really is that we now can have 7 active contracts, and if we want flight planning, we'll also have to upgrade the tracking station, but we won't worry about that yet. We can do it, but I think we'll wait just a little bit. So anyway, now Jean is very happy here, and we can see there's been a massive upgrade. At least they have more comfortable chairs now and more modern computers, so now they can keep track of more contracts for us, which is good. I see here science data from space around Kerbal. We can take this because we have our satellite already in orbit. That was the Proximo 4. We'll just use that, so we'll take this. Test the heat shield in flight. No. It could possibly be done. Is it worth it? I guess, yes, we can try this one possibly. 41 to 51 kilometers. We're already moving near orbital velocity anyway. So I think this can be done. I'll just have to remind myself of that. Test the kickback at launch. We still don't want to use the main launch site, so this will not be workable here. But we can keep this for later perhaps. That's a little bit of money for that. We'll see. Suborbital, I'll take this. This is now just an addition to our contract of the tourism business there. Focused observational surveys, we'll skip this for now. I think we will get to space planes or at least airplanes in this episode, so we can come back to this. Right, that'll do for now. So active 5 contracts, explore the moon. We will wait until we have an upgraded probe core. The heat shield we'll just do in the next mission, whatever that might be. The tourists and more tourists, so now we have 6 of them who are desperate to get to a suborbital flight. They have heard so much about our great achievements here with Valentina especially, that they also want to take part in the adventure and gather science. So let's do that first. We'll just go to the tracking station, and I want to see if there's a way to have this not come up every time. Might be this. No. Oh well, just close it there. So Proximo 4 is still in orbit with whatever is inside of that. Maybe I'll just put this screen right here, and then we can just use that to transmit some science. We can say it's an update to whatever is inside there still. It's still alive, and we want some updates now. So I think we'll just do something simple. Barometer test, log that, transmit that, and easy money. Great. Of course this cannot happen forever because this has no solar panels on it, so we'll have to just keep that in mind. Anyway, back to the Space Center, and I'm going to have some coffee. Alright, back again. Let's just have a look at our list of astronauts and astronaut want-to-bes. Hey, there's Chad Kerman. Maybe I'll hire him. Why not? I like to hire the Kerbals who have kind of recognizable names. That's a lot of money, but okay. Chad, you're also on the roster now. We have now 3 pilots. Right, there we go. So the next objective, let's have a look again at our list of goals. Okay, here we are, comrades. So this is of course just the badges again. We've done the orbital flight. We can possibly go for an extended flight first. We'll do that before we get to a joint launch. Or we could just do a flight test of an aircraft. Like I said, the lunar ones, we really want to wait a little longer. The Pegasus satellite equivalent we can also do, but again, we don't really have all the parts for that. Especially like solar panels and things we can at least imagine are the detectors for the micrometeoroids impact frequency test. So let's do another orbital launch. This will be for duration 1, between 6 and 36 hours. And while we're doing that, we'll also build an airplane and try to get some kind of a vehicle, a sort of semi-space plane, like the X-15 perhaps, for the tourists. Right, so let's do that. Just get into the VAB and have a look at Gladius 2. I did save that, so of course this will now be alphabetical, not chronological, so we just have to keep that in mind. Gladius 2 worked really well, but of course the margins for this are so slim, it has to be almost exactly on the number to get the orbital insertion right. I was wondering about putting a parachute on this lower stage so we can recover it. Of course the value of this is really low and it's hardly worth it, but we can try. This will be our first experiment in reusability. Now this adds another 100 kilos. I was a bit wrong yesterday when I looked at the weight of some of these objects, because if we just see, of course you get like that is actually 50 kilos, not 5 as I said. So you get the ton, then the 100 kilos, and then the tens, so the 50 kilos in that case. So this parachute adds 100 kilograms to the weight of this rocket, which for the scale that we're working with is not insignificant at all. Let's just try it. I was thinking of just strapping it onto the top of that stage there, right there, basically like this, but now of course it must not separate. So probably the easiest way is just to slap it on like that and then move it in. In this case I want the snapping, because that will help us to put it in the middle, right there. Okay, now let's just see, can we see the thing? Well, maybe now I'll turn the snapping off, just like that, and it is attached to the tank, not to the decoupler. Right, now this should fire once we detach the lower stage, and I just need to set it up quickly. So I'll say the minimum pressure is any random number, but really on the higher end, so it doesn't deploy immediately. So we'll just leave it like that and see if anything happens. It's a test. If it doesn't work, we're not going to lose that much money. A swivel engine is actually very cheap, so only 1,200. This will be Gladius 3, save that, and for this we'll send Chad up into space. There you go, Chad, coming. And is there anything else we need? Not really. I think that's pretty much it. We can reduce some of the ablator. Maybe that would be a good idea. This craft is anyway more aerodynamically stable because it does not have a lower section here like an experiment bay. So let's drop that in half. That will make up for the parachute. Save that. And do we still have, of course we should still have this in the sub-assembly, but I think we can just add it again just because it now has the parachute, so it's something. Alt and not with a heat shield though, just like that. This I will just call Spire 1B because it's still Aspire 1 but just a slightly modified version of it. Right, let's see what we can do with this, and I also might want to add a launch clamp since we do have those now, don't we? No, we don't. I guess I didn't take that science last time. Oh well, never mind that. Let's go back to the desert. More coffee, more coffee. Also, I could have taken out the monopropellant. That's another 40 kilos. Anyway. So yes, lock the SAS and wish Chad good luck. Good luck, comrade. 3, 2, 1, ignition. And he is away. Now we'll see. I like the setup here in the desert. I have to say, there's something appealing about this. Kind of, in a way, romanticizing it, you know. These crazy engineers and scientists out in the desert doing all these experiments that just a few years ago were considered impossible. In a way, you know. It harkens back to those early days of rocketry. So we'll keep using it for a while. Maybe I'll make it even my main launch pad, launch port, spaceport here. So I think we just not nurture, what's a good word, husband. You husband your resources carefully. So I'll husband my fuel carefully. Just so that we control our pitch maneuver simply by aerodynamics and by reducing the throttle. So of course the slower you go, the more rapidly you fall over in your gravity turn. So I'm using that to make me turn instead of doing it manually and wasting delta V. Right, this looks like a very nominal launch, and we will see what happens to this stage. Of course the parachute doesn't want to be deployed right now, but that's why we changed the setting, so it won't deploy until it reaches a much lower air pressure, or lower in the atmosphere, which is a higher air pressure. We're doing okay. Maybe a bit slower, just so we turn a bit more. Ideally we'd like to get about 70 kilometers apoaps on this stage, but that will change. It's not going to always be the same. Now in this case I'm just going to turn it slightly because it still follows the atmospheric model when you use the fins, not the orbital telemetry. No, we're not going to quite make up to 70, but I think it is a more efficient launch. Yes, so the parachute is not deploying at the moment, but hopefully it will when it gets to the surface or close to the surface. And anyway, so we've turned more of our speed into a vertical speed than a horizontal one this time, so I think it's fine. Now we use our efficient vacuum engine. This is now in effect the most efficient engine on Kerbal ever, so that's a good thing. Just about 70. We want to be quite modest with these first missions. 71, there we go. Now I'm not going to wait as late as I did previously to start the burn for orbital insertion. We shall just see. We have, okay, it's no idea how long until we get there, so we just have to eyeball it, which is of course not really what you want when you're doing rocketry, but anyway. Okay, I'm gonna start the burn now, but we start with a much greater speed this time. But we still have quite a bit of periaps to burn off, essentially. Right, I think, yes, even more efficient than last time. Okay, let me just bring it back. I don't want the periaps to blow out too much. didn't pay attention. Anyway, 76 by 71. I could have had it nearly perfectly circular. In fact, I might still do that just because. And we still have 286 meters per second. No, let's not burn now. Let's leave that for the re-entry. But yes, so this is an excellent beginning rocket, and it was pure chance that it worked out like this, because we used it in our previous experiment with Proximo 6, I think, or the Otolith. Yes, I think, was that 6 or 7? No, we had 4, 5 and 6, so yes, 6. And it just happened to be exactly what we needed for an orbital crewed craft. We'll pretend it was meant like that. So now Happy Chad here will spend the next, what was it, up to 36 hours in orbit? I'll say 24 hours or so. Now, of course, again, that's not one Kerbal day or Kerbin day, because that's just 6 hours. So in effect, he's going to spend several Kerbin days in orbit. So still, after all these years, I get Kerbin and Kerbal confused. This is crazy, but anyway. At least he has this nice window here. You can see the world pass by while he's in orbit doing various tests. And he's saying some things there, so we'll go back to the Space Center. F5. Great, so that was another success. I'm happy about that. And now we have to go to the space plane hangar. But do we have the parts for that? No, we don't, of course. Hey, we do have just enough science. That was again not intentional. Things are working out. What do they call it? Serendipity and kismet, I think. Well, it's a good sign for this career. So we have just enough. Last time we didn't have enough, actually. So what was the difference? Did we get anything from that? Oh, it was the stage recovery, but that wasn't science. Anyway, so this worked at least. It was recovered 517 kilometers from the KSC. Of course, we're not launching from here, so it only counts it in distance from KSC, not from the other launch sites. So we got 1,900 back. It landed at 10 meters per second, which is fine. And so yes, we can reuse that engine again next time. But let's invest in the science. I still want to know, because I think we had under 45 last time. Maybe we got a little bit when we returned from orbit in the previous episode. I'm not sure. Anyway, grab that and invest a huge sum of money into the airplane parts, because this is not just airplane parts, this is special airplane parts. And yes, so basically we'll go to the not the VAB, the space plane hangar, and the crew here. We see them for the first time. They've been eagerly waiting to be part of this experience. So I'm happy to bring them into the fold. So we'll of course use the Mark 1 cockpit here. This is not really intended for orbital re-entry. You can see the temperature is 2000 Kelvin. Really what you want is 2200 for orbital re-entry. But you can still pull it off if you do a gradual re-entry. Anyway, what we want now is... Don't I have the crew capsules? Yikes, I guess not. I guess I considered taking those previously. Let's just have a look. Oh, it's general. Yes, that's where I was hoping to get the launch stability enhancer thing. So we need 45 science to really pull this off. And of course we get struts. That is critical. More boosters and more struts, right? So how do we get 45 science? Let's do another brainstorming session. Well, I think the easiest way right now is to do a kind of launch to other biomes, but again, I want to basically just use a rocket for this. We can use an airplane as well. Should we though? Rockets are faster, but less accurate. Now we'll do the space plane, I guess. Let's be prudent, right? So we will use a scientist for this. Now of course I can't get a pilot on here as well, so maybe it will just be a pilot. But anyway, we need the Science Junior, possibly 2 of them. But do we really need 2 of them? We've done the atmosphere, so it will just be the biomes. But still 2, so 2 different biomes. Then we need the bay area thing. Service bay. And inside that, I'm going to put the experiments. We don't just leave them out in the open. Science. 2 of those should be enough. 2 of those and 2 of those. Right now we just need some power. It's not really necessary. The engines will create power. I'll just put 1 battery there. I'm not going to transmit this. Right, so the bay here is fine. Now the next step is to try and create some kind of rudimentary aircraft. I like the tail connector B a bit better because it's flush at the top. It doesn't go to a point like this. But you know, there's an easy solution for that. A bit of engineering. Right, there it is. So I think that is nice. Much better for taking off and landing. Then I need what would be best for the what do you call those things? Ailerons, flaps, wings, whatever the case might be, for the pitch. So this wing area is 0.61, 0.65, but really I want the controllable area, so this one should be better. Take 2 of them. And the move tool is your friend. Now in this case I'll roll it as well. Right, that'll do. Don't have to be too fancy for the early plane. So this will just be for pitch. So this is what we used to take off with, and then I'll use one of these Delta Deluxe winglets for the tail. Since we don't need a huge control surface there, this will just be for the yaw. Stabilize the thing. Now we need the wings and the engines. How many parts? 15, so we're okay for now. We can use these swept wings, but I tend to not really use them. Now of course we have 3 choices here. Either slap them on in the middle, or on the bottom, or on the top. I think it's more stable if you put them on the top actually. Let's try that. And okay, we'll just have to fix the tail. Easier done than said, right? Now just give me the wings, connectors, center of mass, center of lift. This is going to be a very crude plane, but so be it. Now this gets confused sometimes. You see it's not giving me a direction, but it's because the tail is attached to the Science Juniors and all of that. It just gets a bit confusing. But it's fine. I think also we want to put more wings on rather than fewer. Size is definitely a problem here. Now in this case we just need 10 centimeters taken off of this. Is it 10 or 100? Now I have to think. In a meter you get 100 centimeters, not 1,000. So it's 10 centimeters. Now that we can kind of get around by just moving them a little in. I don't want that though. That's what I don't want. This kind of horrible clipping. maybe we can use a shorter wing part. E is fine. Of course you get the ones that are twice this size, the square ones, but this is fine. Of course it's 2 parts now. And then we need some engines. We don't need a lot of fuel for this. Maybe just 2 tanks. That'll be fine. And this is completely irrelevant, but I'll just roll it so... Nope, no. Wrong one. So that line matches up there. Engines. And of course the inlets. Now we do have a problem here because we don't have enough parts for the wheels. Yikes, okay, we're gonna need at least 3 wheels, of course, so we're gonna have to get rid of 2 parts. So I think we're just gonna use smaller fuel capacity. It's fine. That looks nice. It does look attached there. It's not hanging in mid-air. And now we should have 27. That's correct. So we just grab some wheels. Of course, this is the old style wheels. We don't retract these. Now, of course, we can do the traditional 1 wheel in the back and 2 in the front. Let's try that for the older style planes. That seems so low though. Now it's tilted. Yikes. Let's hope this works, right? It's so low to the ground. Now let's do it better. Take the thing, spacebar to reset it, snap it in the middle so it's perfectly aligned to the ground. Move it down and in. And probably forward as well. Just there, so the door is still available and the science bay is there. Now we have another problem. Hey, of course we have no roll control capacity, so I guess we'll use the tail for that. We don't have flaps. Well, is it going to be a disaster? Is it not? We can't even put a parachute on here, but our Kerbals do have their own parachutes. It, of course, wasn't always like this, that they had access to them right from the start of the game, but I'm so glad that they changed that. So, Jeb, you're going to be the one, and of course, if the thing goes south, you just jump. That's how we'll do this thing. Anyway, let's see what we can do. That will be like the Vostok. You jump before you hit the ground. I'm just looking at my name. Thank you also for the suggestion, Verity. That's a good name for the future. So if you have nice sounding names, please leave them in the suggestions and we can use them somewhere. So Sparrow is a good one for this. Jack Sparrow. Sparrow 1. Let's hope it works. Save and launch in the desert, of course. Coffee, please. Coffee doesn't really affect me too much. I once also had a triple espresso in Sydney Airport. I have to say, you would think you'd be jumping like this airplane if you drink that, but not really. See, this is something strange still. It's because of the damper or the spring strength. Yikes. Anyway, never mind that. Right, lock it in and let's see if we can take off. At least we're angled up. So if the tail starts lifting, then we just go up. And we are away. Open up the science. We could do a material study in the sky. I'm just dropping the sound. The engines are always so loud, but anyways, I guess that's how it should be. We are in the atmosphere, so you would hear them more. Now let's do a material study. I guess we haven't done that in the atmosphere yet. That's a good amount of science. The less resilient samples appear to have splattered around the interior, forming new and interesting color combinations. Well, that's unfortunate, I guess. So where are we going? The desert mountains are their own biome, I think. Now landing in that area is going to be a problem. I'm just going to put the fine controls on. Whoops, he almost passed out. That's what I like, you know, not that he passes out, but that it's a bit more realistic with the G-force limit. So, yes, don't push it to 15 Gs. One of those things we still have to iron out, but so far the plane works really well. I'm not even doing anything. Jeb is doing all the flying now. We could even visit the pyramids. Spoiler alert, if you don't know, there is a landmark right here in these mountains. That's also probably why they put this launch pad here, so that people actually could see it more. And we're flying low over the highlands, so I'll take a crew report. He says he has a great view of the highlands. Let's have a look. Indeed. Must be nice to be a pilot and an astronaut. Temperature scan. And something just went away. I guess it takes it away obviously once you've done it. Now the material study, I guess we have not done it here yet. No, it's just flying at Kerbal. That's why it's showing it there already. Anyway, there's the landmark, comrades. The pyramids, the great pyramids of something. Jebenkamen is also there, the statue. Landing here is a problem. You have to land in this little valley. But we'll just do a flyby. So there's the pyramid complex. And this is the step pyramid design. So I guess the Kerbals never got around to building the smooth-sided pyramids. And a temperature scan. And I know we're going straight down. So let's pitch up and not pass out. He lost consciousness, but okay. Never mind, he should be back in a moment. There he is again. So we have to be more smooth with this thing. It's because it has this very large wing surface, control surface in the back. So it is very maneuverable, but the G-forces are not friendly. Should we try landing here? I'm gonna F5 this. I don't want to lose the plane. So I will reload if it fails. Cut the engine. I also know back in the day this used to be a bad idea. If you touched the pyramids, your Kerbals would freeze. They would be unresponsive. So I hope it's not the same anymore. We still have to lose some speed. And there it is. Fantastic. Brakes armed, and we're gonna crash violently. Ouch, not gonna be okay. Reload, F9. I don't want to lose the science. Obviously Jeb survived, so there was no question of losing him. Anyway, is it worth going here? Maybe we'll do a tour of these kind of facilities in the future. I would ideally like a parachute just to help us slow down right before landing. Brakes on. I'll try one more again, as Icantina used to say. One more again. Really, it's not so much your speed as your vertical speed that matters when you land. Smooth, but we have a giant cliff right ahead, and we're gonna lose something. Well, it's again, the wheels are a little unwieldy, but anyway. We are here in the mountains, comrades, so we can do more science. I can actually now use the other materials study, so this was a good idea. Samples appear to be judging you for your flying. Atmospheric pressure scan and a mystery goo observation. And can I not do a temperature scan? I guess no. Oh, I was thinking, did we lose it? No, it's obviously clipped in there. Maybe we've used all of the slots. Yes. Oh well. EVA. Just take the data. Board again. Another crew report. EVA F5 again. EVA. And delicately drop to the ground. Now, because it's so hot here, I think it's worth taking his helmet off and just throwing it into thin air, but that's alright. He can do an EVA report as well to give us his impressions of this wonderful historical treasure here. Let's go to it. It's gonna take a little while. I'll fast forward this part, comrades, while Jeb runs through the desert and we pretend like it's part of his training. Welcome back, comrades. We are here. So there is Jeb and Armin, the great previous, well, what should we say about this character? We'll say Jeb and Armin was a great pharaoh of this region of Kerbal, and he is still revered as a bringer of good luck, or something of that nature. So we'll plant a flag right here. Why not? And just view that way, it's fine. That's towards our launch site anyway. And he can't plant a flag. Oh, it's because he hasn't we haven't upgraded the astronaut center, that's why. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just a little visit here. So there is Jeb next to one of his ancestors. Let's try and take a picture of that. F1. And I think we'll just recover from here, comrades. Very interesting site to visit. And of course I'll recover the plane now and its pieces. So let's see, Jeb is at least back again. We had to call a friend, phone a friend to pick us up. Kerbal equivalent of an Uber, I guess. Now back to the tracking station and pick up the Sparrow. And that gives us all the science we need for what I want. Plus some funds. Now, is there any debris right there? There's debris in orbit, but that's exactly the upper stage of the Proximo 4. That's fine. Right. So the next step is to unlock what we came here for, the general construction. That is the crew cabin, of course, plus the struts and many other delicious things. So grab them and go back to the hangar. Okay, grab, should we? No, we'll not grab the Sparrow again. This will be a new plane, not a science one. So this one will be focused more on tourism. So I think at least 2, so we can take 2 passengers at a time. We don't have to cram too many of them in here. Just 2 is fine. Now we have to put an engine on here. But I want to make this a rocket plane like the X-15. Now of course this will be a very poor replica of the X-15. That's not what I'm going for in this series really. It's more just using that kind of inspiration. So For this, we'll just strap a fuel tank on here and open up the delta V feedback for well, anyway, let's first see what we need. Of course we can use the Terrier, but its problem is its low thrust. Once we get to like 40 kilometers and so on, that gives us a thrust to weight of 1.21, which is fine. We just need to add the weight of the wings and all of that. And of course we are limited in our parts. So that's still a problem. Let's just see what we can do here. Now, the point of a tourist trip is to not block the windows of your paying customers. So how shall we do this? Let me think for a moment. I can like use more let me just think here, like those swept wings of like the X-15. But again, it's not. I could twist these like that, but this is such small wings. Just need to think, do we put it on the top or on the bottom or where? So basically, I think this is the part that we'll also recover. So I think with that in mind, let's just begin building the basics here. So obviously we need the tail. And the tail is for yaw control again, and stability in general. Turn that off. How small do the wings, can the wings be? Can we get away with really small wings? That's basically what I'm thinking about. Is something like this going to be possible? You know, that kind of looks okay, but it's probably not going to be enough. But the fuel tank will be empty by then, so what weight are we looking at? 3.2 tons. It could potentially work, perhaps, possibly, maybe. Should we even try? Yes, we'll do a test flight. We'll do a test flight. I think Valentina can be the test pilot. That'll work. Anything perhaps complementing this? I could take the structural wing again. Like this. The problem here though is, of course, you get wings of different thicknesses, and of course it's going to block the windows. But that looks kind of neat, as they say. What about this? This looks shall we say badass in a little way? Yes, they can clearly see out of those windows. We're not blocking them. And the wing blends in there. Of course, it does have this little thick part at the back, but, well, it's thick with two C's, I guess. Alright, so that's our space plane. If it works, comrades. Yes, well, we'll see. Very far back, but of course... yes, so it will actually get more imbalanced as the fuel burns out, but at least in the right way. They're moving away from one another, so that should be okay. If these winglets don't work, I'll use the tail fin kind that have bigger control surfaces. Perhaps we should start with that, but I'm going to test this first. This looks the nicest, I think. Now, of course, we have to use these old style wheels with this, but okay, it'll do. Whoops, what happened there? Right, just move it back. This must not be too close to the ground. We might be returning with some alacrity. Right, so a hyper-modern space plane with some dinky wheels, but it works. It's the Kerbal way, you know. Right, so this gives us 1500 meters of delta V. That's fine. We're not looking for an orbital plane here. This is purely a suborbital craft. Now, how are we going to get this up to the upper atmosphere? The cheapest and easiest way is to strap it to a giant solid-fueled can of explosives. So that's exactly what we're going to do, because it's the Kerbal way. Right, this is so imbalanced and all that, but it's okay. We just need to worry about the length. Although we can always launch this from the actual launch pad, in which case we don't have the size restrictions anymore, or the weight. So that's what we'll do. We just need bigger wings on the bottom to keep this thing stable. The tail fin wings might work, but I'm thinking we're still going to have problems. Press R to go back to the normal symmetry mode, not just the dual symmetry mode. Shall we just do 4? Let's try that. Let's go to the VAB. Now the warnings are gone again. And obviously we launch this upright, so we will tilt to that side. Obviously the wheels will give drag, so it will tilt over to the 90 anyway. Let's look at the thrust. It's a little too much. 1.6, 1.58. That's perfectly alright. Okay, next step is just some launch clamps. We'll just use 2 of them. Don't have to be too fancy in this case. Just to keep the thing upright. And I think that's it. We can now do the auto strut as well. We don't have to use physical struts. Just right click. You have to have advanced tweakables on, of course. Which is right there, auto strut. So click that and then it will basically insert a strut there. Sometimes you have to still use the traditional ones, but in most cases you don't have to. So what will this be? It's still kind of like the Arrow, but it's really a different kind of plane. So let me have a look at my list. Let's take Icarus. It should be quite appropriate. Or should we save that for a solar probe? No, I have other names for solar probes. Let me just make sure. No, we'll take Griffin. Oops, what am I doing? That's the Griffin space plane. Save. Right, brave heroes, it's not going to be Jeb, it's going to be Valentina. She is our only 1-star astronaut, so she has the most experience. So let's launch her again from the desert. I'll try also recovering the solid fuel stage later, but not right now. We just need to do a test. Good luck, comrade. And she is away, so we actually do want her to tilt towards the 90 now. So let's see if something like that happens. And she has the skill now to track prograde and retrograde, which is fantastic. You can start moving a little bit. Usually the problem with this is once you start moving, you start running into big trouble, just like this. Alright, should we? Now we'll see if we can't recover. Let it burn out first, otherwise it's going to drag us along with it anyway, I think. Moon, we're not quite ready for you. And snap it off, and there we go. Now let's see if this thing flies. So maybe our first test is only to see if this actually can work. SA is off. On the return it will be purely a glider. Now it does not have the most aggressive turn here. No, this is not good. This is not gonna work. Nope. Alright, sorry. Revert again. That never happened. So, I think what we have to do here is to use the bigger control surfaces. Tail fins. Yes, like that, so they stick out to the back. The further back they are, the more control they will have. And then should we move them in a little? Nah, let's leave them like this. Then just of course pitch again and roll, and that should be better at least. It's not just the little flaps on the back now. Now the other problem we had was of course the great booster fell over. That will not do, so we need much larger winglets here. Let's try the E-type. 4 of those. With flaps, possibly. Adventures in Spaceplane Building with Admiral Andre 101. Okay, that'll do. Now it's getting expensive enough to also recover. I just want to move those flaps out a little. They're clipping into the part of the nozzle there. Like that. And of course we just need a parachute. We now know the concept works. Just one. When it's empty it's not going to be so heavy. We'll see if that works and just move it in a little. It's kind of difficult to do. No, undo. Yikes, it's always this kind of thing. There we go. And just alter it again to deploy at much higher pressure, and it's fine there. We can put a parachute on the space plane as well. We do have the allowance for the parts still, so I think we will, just in case something goes horribly wrong, we don't kill everybody. Not good for paying customers. Right, so that I will put at the top. And this, we can't map it to the abort yet, so I'll just have to keep it in mind. Right, let's launch again. This is still only a test, so it doesn't really have a number yet. Let's go back. If at least we can get it to work this time, it'll be good. And there we go. This should be better. Anyway, I think we need to turn earlier as well. Go! Good luck, comrade. I just like how it drops a little before it takes off. Now let's just turn slightly now, then lock to prograde and do nothing else. So maybe it's also a little underpowered. Could put the sound up again. So that's something to improve for the next time. Just put a bit more thrust to it. Now it starts to pick up thrust nicely. And we just keep an eye on this. Again, the angle here is not too important because it's not an orbital craft. 20 kilometers is good, so now we ditch that part and we ignite the upper stage, which has very little thrust because it's still quite low in the atmosphere. But the thrust and the efficiency will increase as we continue to go higher up. As long as we break the barrier of the atmosphere. That looks so nice. Much better than I thought it would turn out. This is probably my best early kind of space plane. And should we lock it again? Maybe. Let's lock it there. So another tip, don't turn too early with the booster. First milestone, we discovered some desert pyramids. Oh, I love that they actually tell us this. That's nice. And they pay us for that as well. Great. And it should switch to orbit now. So I think we can also. Still 600 meters left. The Griffin space plane. That sounds nice. Where we will land is another problem though. But it's a test, so next time we could potentially launch to the north or to the northeast, so we land in the desert still, not in the ocean. Come on, we have to make it to space. Probably not gonna work. No. So just a bit more aggressive next time. It's fine. And now I just want to see what happens. This is another simulation. And a test at near orbital velocity. Very nice view here. And we're going down, so we should get some heating. Maybe we can land there by Pelican Point. That's what I call that. Right there. The edge of the desert. Yes. I'd like us to pitch up while we're doing a re-entry like this, just so the flames don't actually melt the windows but miss it. But unfortunately it seems we don't have enough lift for that. Oh, it's gonna burn something off. Ouch, there's the wheel. Parachute is suddenly a great necessity. The problem is also because if we don't tilt like this, we just keep accelerating. We are gonna lose all the wheels, so maybe I should just skip them completely, or just use this kind of wheel. Okay, we've survived the re-entry, and now we at a breakneck speed trying to reach the desert again. What was that one badge? We can tick that off once we do the tourist mission, hypersonic research at the edge of space. This perfectly qualifies for that. Now of course if it matches prograde, you can see we barely lose any speed. Not that great. We should have skids on this thing like the X-15, but we don't even have those yet, the girder segments. Pitch up and don't pass out, please. At least we can still pitch up. That's of course a good test of a plane. If it goes at a relatively slow pace, but you can still control it. Now of course this is not slow yet, so we'll reserve judgment. Maybe we'll try and land on our back wheels, since the cockpit can take a bit of an impact. So far so good. Comrade, the ground is approaching. Perfection. See, you must have faith in me, comrades. Well, sometimes anyway. Now, hey, what did I say about faith? Maybe that didn't quite work. Revert. That's an understatement and a half. Now, the problem here is still we don't quite have enough lift. One possible way to address that is to tilt this wing here. Just ever so slightly. Because it gives it a bit of a lift. And the other thing was, I just want to check the wheels temperature wise. Your temperature is 1000, yours is also 1000. I guess it's just because this took the brunt of the heating. Now there's no way around that, I'm afraid. So should we skip this entirely and just land by parachute? Maybe. It's gonna be a weird plane, but we don't have the wheels for this yet. Doesn't help to just have the back wheels anyway. Okay, and then I just want to do one more thing. Move this a little bit back. It's intersecting with the tail there, but anyway, it still works. Then just grab this and put it back. Grab this and put it back. And of course, turn this up a tad like that. Okay, comrades, that's enough for this video. I think we will leave the Griffin, save it right here. Of course, our comrade Chad is still in orbit, so we will meet him again next time. Just don't want to make the videos too super long, but I'll probably just keep recording now. So see you again next time, comrades. Have a fantastic day.